Salute, my Quickclassics friends. Welcome to another episode of Quickclassics on this Father's Day 2021. And happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. And I thought that today I would do, in honor of fathers, a study on the paterfamilias, the male head of the household in uh, Roman households, Roman homes. So this paterfamilias is a word that even to some degree is retained in our own language, and it shows up in some of the darndest places, really. If you've ever seen the movie "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou," uh, the character that George Clooney plays describes himself as the paterfamilias to his estranged wife. Um, it does have an interesting history, and in fact, an old history in Rome's past. Um, and there are a number of clues that indicate this concept is old and predates the Republic, maybe even the regal period itself, because of the actual morphology of the word itself, or the words paterfamilias. So this is actually archaic Latin, um, and it preserves the in the familias part. Literally, this means the father of the family. But in the familias part, uh, the later classical Latin genitive, which shows ownership, would be an AE and not an AS. And so this preserves a very old genitive form of this word, back to, a kind of Proto-Latin, if you will. So kind of it bears the hallmark of ancient Roman tradition, and it was used throughout Rome's history. And of course, the Romans themselves were huge on tradition. They believed that if it was good enough for their ancestors, then it was good enough for them. Um, Now, the paterfamilias was the head of the estate owned by a Roman citizen, and the head of the family, with that power often going to the extended family as well. And there were some powers that the paterfamilias had, as the head of the house, the male head of the household, under types of Roman law like the patria potestas, that basically all legal matters and moral matters and social matters and religious matters were resolved, let's say, by the paterfamilias. And the from one end of Roman territory to the other, this individual was always a Roman citizen, was always a component part of the larger Roman society. Um, the the duty of the paterfamilias, the main duty, outside of running his estate, when it came to his family, was to raise future Roman citizens and to pass along the traditions of that family. And this lets us look at an interesting sort of moral commentary on the ethics and social mores within Roman society. Now, unfortunately, cinema and some series like Rome sort of paint all of Roman society as if it were simply obsessed with licentiousness, gore and violence and orgies, and while that certainly happened in Roman society, and they certainly depicted it in their art and iconography to a limited degree, and stuff that could really be considered quite pornographic. But you have to remember that just as in our society today in America, this sort of aberrant behavior is largely the purview of our extremely wealthy, the more libertine elements of our society, entertainers, politicians, etc., etc., some professional athletes. And the same could be said for morality in ancient Rome. It's really your senators and wealthy Roman citizens who were mainly, they were the ones that were obsessed with this sort of hedonistic sexuality and indulged all manner of hedonism. But for the bulk of Roman society, morality and ethics and proper behavior, marital fidelity, the care and love of your family, all of these things were central tenets to the Roman state, going all the way back to the regal period and continuing through the imperial era. It was important for a father to pass these ideas along to sons and daughters. And in fact, in many neighborhoods in Rome, particularly, and in cities throughout the empire, uh, you know, again, under the power that the paterfamilias wielded, if let's say that you know a spouse, a wife was found to be guilty of adultery, then there could be very severe consequences for that sort of behavior. Um, and so, again, Romans saw their families as not just loved ones, but they were ensuring the future of the Roman state. The paterfamilias is also responsible for the private sphere of religion. Okay, you've got your public sphere of religion under the auspices of the pontiffs and the colleges of priests and augurs and things like that you find in public shrines and temples. But there was also a private sphere of religion, and generally the paterfamilias was the priest for the Roman family, and this involved all the rites necessary for honoring their clan, their ancestors, the spirits of the gens, whatever noumena or gods were considered to be patrons or matrons of that household. Um, of course, this had some variation throughout the empire, and with the advent of Christianity, um, there were more of these male heads of household who continued to function as the religious leaders of the house, but they were devoted to the tenets of Christianity. Um, but the idea of the paterfamilias survived well into the empire, and even in altered forms beyond the actual fall of the Western Empire. Certainly, these ideas were preserved in large measure in the Eastern Empire that survived as the Byzantine Empire. Um, the the paterfamilias was also he also had the power of life and death, and this is over members of his family, more so in the Republican era, the regal era, the Republican era, and this would gradually be curtailed as Roman law became more explicated, probably beginning with the 12 tables during the Republican era, and continuing to be more limiting in terms of the power over life and death that the paterfamilias wielded. So there's a look at the head of the Roman household, the pater familias, the father of the family. And again, I'd like to say happy Father's Day to my father, Glenn Burton, and to all the fathers out there. Um, I should also note that there's a new certification under development by the Institute of Biblical Anthropology, and it's one on Mediterranean civilization, which would include the Greeks and the Romans, the Minoans, the Mycenaeans, Aegean civilization. So keep a lookout for that. That'll probably be dropping pretty soon. Got some good sales this week, Father's Day sales that will go all throughout the week. The certifications are $125 each, and Rudiments of New Testament Greek course is $250. So again, thank you for all the support. That helps the institute to keep going. Helps me to keep making new things available, making new books available, that sort of thing. Well, until we meet again, I'll wish you Godspeed.